Okay, hello. I'm here to post about Path of Exile 2. While I was playing Path of Exile 2, I posted a video in the past talking about how I was just not a fan of the things that came to Path of Exile 2. I wasn't really having fun in the league. I was feeling pretty burnt out and bored, and I just posted a video of my opinions, and in pretty much no time after posting it, I got a response in the comment section of somebody telling me that I hit a wall, which I never said I did, that I was making a million characters, which I only had at the time one character that was like 40. It was a blood mage, and then I had a warrior that was a level 2, so I don't know where they got that information from. They were saying that I needed to change my perspective and that Path of Exile is not like Diablo, which he doesn't need to tell me that because I have over 1,000 hours in Path of Exile 1, and I don't know how many I have in Path of Exile 2. Actually, I can't even check right now because I don't have it installed. Let me swing by and see. I have over 100 hours in Path of Exile 2. I'm not a huge fan of it. But yeah, so I just get this crazy hate comment that's like the size of a paragraph telling me that basically everything that I feel about Path of Exile 2 is wrong. So I told that person I was going to end up screenshotting their comment and their username and putting it in the video, but I decided against it. I told that person I was going to make a specific video catered towards them. So first and foremost, to that person, shut up. You have no opinion. Your opinion doesn't matter. How does it feel to be voiceless and nameless? Second off, there was somebody else in the comment section who ended up commenting essentially to my comment to combat his comment. So thank you for that person who came around to say the obvious that everybody else knows. If you see maps as the only fun part of the game, then having to play through the campaign would be technically unfun, and nobody should have to struggle through campaign just to make it to maps. Why should you have to play through the unfun part to get to the fun part? But with that being said, that doesn't mean that campaign is not fun. It's just more so if you played it so many times over and things are kind of getting boring for you, then of course you're not going to have fun and you're not going to continue to do what your game plan was to begin with. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to touch Path of Exile 2 anymore. I'm bored of it. I'm going to play some other games. And I did. And while playing some other games, one of my friends that I gifted Path of Exile 2 about a year, maybe 2 years ago, decided to get on about almost a month ago. His birthday had hit. For whatever reason, out of the blue, he decided to play the game. And while playing, he was constantly asking me for help. I was essentially holding his hand and teaching him the bare bones of the game and was getting him through the game. But while watching him play before I decided to help him, I was essentially watching him fall apart and run into all these excess problems where he couldn't figure out how to get his build up and running and all of this different things because he was new to Path of Exile 2. Partially new to Path of Exile as well. And so I'm helping him throughout all this time, but at the same time, he also had some friends who he was playing with, and they ended up boosting him through the game without really helping him understand any of the fundamentals, which left him in a rut and left him struggling, and so I came around to help him. Not only that, but some of the people that he was playing with that boosted him in a game, they weren't even really good at the game themselves, and they were dying way more than he was, and he was new at the game. So it was pretty funny as a whole. But because of this constant onslaught of his friends losing and putting him in a bad position and him losing and me helping him and walking him through the process, and this went on for like 2 nights, I decided to reinstall the game and give it another go, now having, a little bit of a rekindled fire lit underneath me to play again. And so I decided to play again. And during this time, I decided to change a bunch of things. So my first character was a blood mage. I was using a blood mage leveling build. I was having fun. I was doing a bunch of damage, but I essentially just got bored of the game and decided to quit playing. I decided to make a warrior, stopped at level 2 because the leveling build that I was following for the warrior seemed pretty boring, right? I was just bored. I was bored of the game, man. So, when I did come back, I made a multitude of characters this go around to try to see if there was some kind of playstyle or some kind of character aesthetic that would pique my interest. So I never played the druid. A lot of people talked about wyvern. One of the last times I had really played the game, and when I came back, nobody talked about wyvern at all. I had no idea what was going on. So I ended up using an old wyvern build from last year around Christmas for the druid. Got to play through it, and it was really fun. That would be the second build of this league that I've tried that does a ton of damage during campaign, and you could basically fly through campaign with it, just like the build that I was using with the blood mage. With this being said, I thought it was really fun, but I wanted to try a few other characters as well, because my entire time on Path of Exile 2 has really been centered around either the ranger or the witch, and that's about it. So, I decided to make a huntress, and I did a spirit walker, and I was going with like the typical Pokemon build, and I was running that for a while to see how that felt and what all you have to do in there, and that was pretty fun as well. So by this point, I would have had a blood mage that I got into Act 3, I would have had a druid that I'd gotten to Act 3, and I would have had a spirit walker that I've gotten to Act 3. I had no intention on playing mercenary anytime soon. My friend, who I was basically holding the hand of at the time, was playing ranger, so I didn't really feel like playing ranger at that time. And another one of my friends decided to play monk, and so I backed off of monk so that he could run the monk. And I decided to give the warrior an extra try and play through the warrior and see what I could get in that process, and was still kind of tumbling and fumbling, but trying to find my way, and eventually just got burnt out and tired and decided to call it quits. I did plan to try a sorcerer or sorceress, but just did not really get to that point of playing, and I believe that covers all, or just about all, of the builds in the game, or the characters in the game, I should say, so far. And so here I had this whole new setup for characters and running the game and whatnot, and trying different things out and playing things that I've never tried before. Of all the builds, I was trying to figure out what in-game build I would have wanted to play and how I would have wanted it to work. So I decided to stick with the huntress, the spirit walker, because I thought it would be the most fun, since it seemed creative and goofy and weird to let the AI essentially play for you. And it was pretty much like a hands-off build, so the AI did pretty much everything for you. And I thought the mechanic was a little different, because I don't usually play minion and or companion builds in pretty much any ARPG ever. So I thought that this would be a new experience overall to play. For the Spirit Walker build, I was using the Zizarin setup, and I pretty much had everything that I needed for in-game in terms of gear, because a random person on my friends list came by and asked me if I wanted divines, and I'm like, at the time I was so confused. I was like, what's going on? And they're like, hey, you know, like, I finished all my gear from this point forward, costs over 100 divines a piece, and I'm not gonna farm for that. Do you want the leftover divines? I was like, I'll take them if you're just giving them away. And so he gives me like 21 divines, some extra exalteds, and I never see him online again. And so I used this newfound richness to convert a few divines into exalteds, make gear for these different characters, level these characters up, and just see what I like. And I ended up, like I said, sticking with the Spirit Walker. And like I said, I had a whole lot of fun being able to just run around and let the AI be as chaotic as possible. I really liked the exploration. I made it all the way to essentially Act 5, which I had made it to before, and even bled into maps. Now, with that being said, to the main commenter who thought maps was the most fun thing of the game and that you just had to suffer through campaign to actually get to maps to have fun. Now we're, at this place where I guess we're touching one of the key points that you thought mattered. I'm in maps and it's basic, right? My friend was telling me ahead of time, mapping just wasn't super fun, especially compared to Path of Exile 1. I had heard plenty of YouTubers talk about mapping not really being all that it's cracked up to be, but, the grind doesn't stop regardless. So I figured I could run some maps, get some more currency, because there's another build that I wanted to try. And as I'm playing through maps, I'm just doing what I've been doing this whole time with the Spirit Walker, running around, letting the minions kill, and then dipping. The problem for me is this entire league setup, all of this time, I've been running into this issue where the game just decides to crash constantly. If I had to count the amount of crashes I've had in this league alone, I would say maybe 15. Maybe, right? And I haven't been on since the day the league launched. I'll play just random days out of the week, depending on how I feel. And it was pretty much every session of playtime that I had, I would have crashed at least once. My friend was telling me certain YouTubers were stuck at the loading screens of trials and whatnot. For me, it was pretty much every area that I joined, or once every while of an area that I joined, or maybe an area with a boss fight or in the middle of a boss fight, or whatever the case may be, my game would freeze. Because it would freeze, I couldn't do anything. I would close it, I would reopen it. Thank God the game brought me to the same exact point where I was left off at. I was able to continue fighting whatever boss or group of enemies or whatever. Once that was finished, I was able to move on and continue playing from that point forward. And I thought that that was fun, because at least I got to experience the game and get through the parts that I needed to get to. What ended up not being fun is having to close my game, reopen my game, and get back to a specific point. That was not fun at all. And the day that I uninstalled was when it happened 3 times in a row, back to back. And I was like, wow. And that was in maps. And I think even before that, it was crashing pretty much every time I joined a new map. So one of my friends was saying it's my computer. But the thing was, I had heard plenty of other YouTubers were dealing with it, and I know for a fact that they had stronger builds than I did. So I know it wasn't my computer. And then at the same time, an update came out recently that I guess was some kind of hotfix. And one of my friends was saying that chances are that hotfix is what caused it, because at certain points he was crashing too. So I knew it wasn't just me. So I'm fed up, right? I don't want to keep running through maps and having my game kill itself every time I play maps, because that's just not fun. So in my stride to get as many builds and currency and maps done as possible, I would look up stuff on YouTube and start getting my algorithm a little less catered to women with BBLs and a little more catered to content centered around Path of Exile 2. And in the process, I found a bunch of YouTubers talking about a bunch of different things with Path of Exile 2. Certain ones talking about the economy, certain ones talking about the crashings, certain ones talking about how clunky things are, or how certain changes have changed specific things, or how certain builds have ruled the meta, so other builds don't get the kind of praise they feel like they should be getting. Just a lot of stuff. Some things negative, other things positive, but all in all, it's all coming. And I'm thinking, okay, I'll just settle in and focus in and lock in and get all this stuff done that I can for me. But about the time that I got like those crashes back to back, I had gotten a recommended video on my YouTube for Path of Exile, and for Path of Exile 2 more specifically. And the YouTuber had the video titled something like "I'm done for now." And I go to watch the video, and I had heard a few YouTubers talking about this YouTuber before, and apparently in this season he has been running into a lot of issues. But what I could pull from this video was that minion builds ruled everything. He had a minion build. He felt like killing bosses without lifting a finger was pretty boring and not as rewarding. And he wanted to have like a physical build where he could be like mechanically skilled, but felt like the game wasn't really offering him that opportunity. And because of that, he didn't want to keep playing. On top of that, he was apparently known really well in Path of Exile 1 for a certain type of builds, and he was trying to create something new in Path of Exile 2, and apparently the way the mechanics worked in Path of Exile 2 don't really follow how they do in Path of Exile 1, so that got him super frustrated. And then to add to that, he was dealing with the crashes and whatnot, just like everybody else. But apparently he had died significantly more than a lot of the other YouTubers did, and he was just fed up. And I'm like, you know what? I came back, I gave the game a try, I played significantly more, I made it to maps, I had a little bit more fun trying some things out that were different, but all in all, you know, this hasn't changed my general thought process of it all. So I decided, I'm gonna call it quits, right? We made it to a point that we wanted to in Path of Exile 2. We got the work done. I'd say that's it, you know, GG's. Chances are I'm not gonna get back on anytime soon. If I do, hopefully they would have fixed the crash problem by then. But until then, that's it. Hope everybody's good, and chances are I'll be posting some more Femboy Fuda House tomorrow, because I've got like one long recording that I need to edit. But yeah, peace.